You know, sometimes God places us in situations we didn't choose, with people we didn't expect to meet. And today I want to speak to someone who's been living under the weight of a relationship with a narcissist. Maybe it's a boss, a partner, or someone in your inner circle. It's tough, right? But listen to me when I say this. God did not make a mistake by putting you in their life. He didn't send you there to be defeated. He sent you there because He knew you were equipped to thrive even when the environment seemed impossible. You were not just an innocent bystander in their drama. You were sent on a divine mission. God put you in their life to bring light where there was darkness, to speak truth in the midst of lies, to stand firm when the world around you was shaking. And guess what? You didn't just survive, you succeeded. You came out stronger, wiser, and more confident than before. And that is the power of God working through you. So if you're sitting here today feeling like the battle was too much, let me remind you, your victory isn't because of you. It's because of the one who put you there in the first place. Let's dive into why you're not just a survivor, you're a success story. God's timing and purpose are always perfect, even when we don't fully understand it in the moment. There are times in life when we find ourselves in situations we never expected, in relationships we never sought, and yet somehow they become the very crucible that shapes us into who we are meant to be. One such relationship is with a narcissist. Whether it's a family member, a coworker, or someone close to you, the narcissist behavior can feel like a constant challenge, a strain on your emotional and mental well-being. You might feel drained, defeated, and confused as to why you, of all people, have to endure such a relationship. But let me remind you of something that's so important. God never makes a mistake in where He places us, and He doesn't allow anything to happen without it being for a reason. When God places you in a narcissist's life, it is not by accident. It is not because you are somehow less worthy or because you are destined to suffer. No, God places you there because He knows you are the one who can handle the pressure, the one who can stand firm, and through His strength make a difference in a place where others might not be able to. You see, God's purpose in your life is far greater than the surface level difficulties you might be facing. It's not about avoiding the hard places. It's about understanding that you were placed there for a reason and with a purpose. Let's take a moment to think about the idea of divine placement. Throughout Scripture, we see examples of God placing people in circumstances they never would have chosen for themselves. Joseph was sold into slavery by his brothers. He didn't ask for that. He didn't choose that path. Yet God had a purpose for Joseph being in that situation, one that ultimately led him to a position of power where he was able to save many lives during a time of famine. Joseph didn't understand the reasoning behind his circumstances while he was living them, but hindsight showed him that God was working all along. Just like Joseph, you might not understand why you've been placed in a narcissist's life, but I promise you there's a greater purpose at work that will be revealed in time. Narcissists are often people who are deeply self-centered, who seek to manipulate and control others for their own benefit. Their actions and behaviors can leave you feeling insignificant, unheard, and even invisible at times. But God's placement in your life is never about making you feel small. It's about refining you. It's about shaping you into a person who can stand strong in the face of manipulation and control. Someone who can rise above the negativity and come out on the other side, not only intact, but stronger. God doesn't waste pain or hardship. Every moment you endure, every struggle you face, He is using it to prepare you for something bigger, something that you can't even yet imagine. Think about the refining process. When gold is purified, it's placed in a furnace at high temperatures to remove the impurities. The heat is intense and the process is difficult, but in the end, what emerges is something far more valuable than what was originally put in. In the same way, when God places you in the life of a narcissist, it's not to destroy you, but to refine you. You might feel as though the heat is unbearable, the pressure too much to handle, but know this: God sees you. He knows your limits, and He will never allow you to go through something that He hasn't equipped you to endure. The very challenges you face in that narcissistic relationship are the things that will refine your character, strengthen your resolve, and draw you closer to Him. God's placement in your life is not just about what happens to you, it's about what happens through you. The narcissist might attempt to manipulate, control, or belittle you, but what they don't realize is that they are a part of the process that God is using to shape you into someone who reflects His strength and resilience. In the midst of their chaos, God is teaching you how to hold your ground, how to protect your peace, and how to stand firm in the face of adversity. You might find yourself learning patience in ways you never thought possible, developing a deeper level of compassion for others who are hurting, and gaining a wisdom that will guide you for the rest of your life. Think about how often the Bible talks about the importance of perseverance and endurance. James 1:2-4 tells us, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work, so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." This isn't just a random verse. It's a blueprint for how God works in our lives. He allows us to go through trials not to harm us, but to build something in us that we couldn't develop any other way. The narcissist's actions, though painful and difficult to endure, are part of the process of refining your faith, your character, and your ability to stand strong in the face of adversity. You might think that God has abandoned you in the midst of this challenging relationship, but the truth is He is with you every step of the way. God doesn't place us in difficult situations to punish us. Instead, He places us there because He knows what's on the other side. He knows that through His strength, you are capable of standing strong, rising above, and ultimately becoming someone who can help others in similar situations. Your ability to thrive in such an environment is a testimony of God's grace and His transformative power in your life. Consider how many times throughout Scripture God used difficult relationships and circumstances to prepare His people for something greater. Moses had to confront Pharaoh, and David had to deal with King Saul, both situations that were filled with manipulation, deception, and unfair treatment. Yet, these trials were the very things that God used to prepare Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, and David to become king of Israel. In the same way, God is preparing you through this narcissistic relationship for the great things He has planned for your future. The challenges you face now are not the end. They are only the beginning of something far greater. When we look at these examples, it's clear that God's placement in difficult situations is not just about the present moment. It's about the future that He is preparing you for. Every hardship, every moment of manipulation or control is being used to equip you with the skills, the character, and the resilience you'll need to fulfill your purpose. And just like Joseph, Moses, and David, you will look back one day and see that God had a plan all along. He was working in the background, orchestrating every detail of your life to bring you to a place where you could walk in the fullness of your calling. So the next time you find yourself questioning why you are in this situation with a narcissist, remember that God placed you there on purpose. He didn't make a mistake when He allowed this relationship to come into your life. He saw something in you that you might not even see in yourself yet. And He knows that you are capable of handling what's been placed in your path. Your strength, your perseverance, and your ability to rise above the challenges you face are a direct reflection of His work in your life. Embrace the fact that God has placed you in this situation for a reason. and trust that He is using it to refine you, strengthen you, and prepare you for the incredible things He has ahead. There's a tendency in today's world to equate success with ease. We see people who have what seems like it all: money, status, relationships, and success, and we believe the path to those things is smooth. But anyone who's truly achieved greatness will tell you that success is rarely about smooth sailing. It's about the ability to endure, to stay strong when everything around you feels uncertain, and to press on when the odds seem stacked against you. The real key to success isn't how comfortable you are, but how well you can stand when the storm hits, how you rise in the face of adversity. When you're placed in a narcissist's life, it often feels like you're caught in a storm, a whirlwind of manipulation, emotional turmoil, and frustration. It's as though the very air you breathe is charged with negativity, and no matter how hard you try, you can't escape the cycle. But here's the thing: this struggle is not pointless. It's not a punishment, and it's not the end of your story. The pressure you feel, the emotional strain, and the internal conflict are not signs of weakness. They are opportunities for growth. It's through struggle that we learn resilience. It's through difficulty that we find strength we didn't know we had. The very things that feel like they're breaking you are the same things that are shaping you into something far greater than you ever imagined. Let's be clear: struggle is never easy. Nobody wakes up excited to face hardship or conflict. But what I've learned is that God doesn't allow us to go through struggles just for the sake of it. He allows them because He knows they are a necessary part of the process that leads us to a place of spiritual maturity, wisdom, and emotional strength. Struggles with narcissistic individuals are not just random bumps in the road. They are lessons in disguise. They are tools that God uses to sharpen us, to make us stronger, to teach us things about ourselves that we might never have known otherwise. When you're in a relationship with a narcissist, it can feel like you're walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid their temper, their manipulations, or their self-centered demands. The chaos they bring into your life can be overwhelming, and it can often leave you questioning your worth, your decisions, and even your identity. It's easy to lose sight of who you are in the midst of someone else's dysfunction. You can start to feel like you're losing yourself, like you're caught in their storm and there's no way out. But the reality is that this struggle is not here to define you, it's here to refine you. One of the greatest things God does in our lives through struggle is teach us how to find our true identity. Narcissists often thrive by creating a false narrative, manipulating others to see them as superior, more important, or deserving of attention. They feed off others' weaknesses and insecurities, using them to fuel their own egos. In their presence, it can be easy to feel small, unnoticed, or even invisible. But the truth is, God never sees us that way. We are not defined by the words or actions of others. And it's through struggles like the one you face with the narcissist that we are forced to turn inward, to seek God's truth about who we are, and to find the strength to stand firm in our identity as His beloved children. Struggle also teaches us about boundaries. Narcissists often disregard boundaries, not because they can't see them, but because they don't want to acknowledge them. Their needs, desires, and emotions are often placed above everyone else's, and they expect others to cater to their whims without regard for the toll it takes on others. In dealing with a narcissist, you will quickly learn the importance of setting healthy boundaries. You'll learn how to say no without guilt, how to protect your emotional and mental space, and how to preserve your energy for the things that matter most. In a world where people constantly try to push us to be everything to everyone, struggle teaches us to prioritize our well-being and to recognize the importance of saying no when necessary. Through struggle, you also learn the power of perseverance. There are times when you may feel like giving up, when the emotional toll is too great, when you can't take one more word, one more manipulation. But here's the thing, perseverance is not about pushing through out of obligation. It's about choosing to stay the course even when everything inside you is telling you to give up. It's about finding strength in your weakness, leaning on God when you can't go another step, and trusting that He is with you even in the darkest moments. When you endure, when you keep going despite the odds, you are becoming the person you were always meant to be. God is using every moment of pressure, every moment of difficulty to mold you into someone who can handle what's ahead. Perseverance is not just about surviving the struggle, it's about thriving through it. Another powerful lesson that comes through struggle is the ability to grow in empathy and compassion. When you are dealing with someone who is manipulative or self-centered, it can be easy to become jaded or bitter. You might begin to see the world through the lens of hurt and frustration, and your heart could grow cold as a result. But God doesn't want us to become hardened in the face of hardship. He wants us to grow in compassion. He wants us to look at the narcissist not with disdain or anger, but with a heart that understands that their behavior is a result of their own deep wounds and insecurities. God teaches us to respond with grace, to offer kindness when it's the last thing we want to give, and to remember that our actions reflect His love even when others are difficult to love. Struggle also teaches us about our ability to rely on God for strength. The narcissist may try to convince you that you are weak, that you are unworthy, or that you are incapable of standing up to them. But God sees you differently. He sees you as strong, capable, and equipped to handle whatever comes your way. Struggle forces us to rely less on our own abilities and more on God's power. We realize that we don't have to fight our battles alone. God is with us every step of the way, empowering us to rise above the negativity, to stand firm in our truth, and to walk in His purpose for our lives. When we lean on God, we discover a strength that is not our own, but His, a strength that is greater than anything we could ever muster on our own. One of the most difficult yet rewarding aspects of struggle is the opportunity to find peace in the midst of chaos. Narcissists often create chaos and drama wherever they go. And it can be easy to get caught up in their whirlwind. But when you stand firm, when you refuse to let their behavior dictate your peace, you are showing the power of God at work in your life. Peace doesn't come from external circumstances. It comes from the internal assurance that God is in control, that He is working all things together for your good, and that no matter what happens, His love and presence are unwavering. The struggle with a narcissist is not easy, but it is a process of growth that God uses to refine us, to strengthen us, and to prepare us for the greater purpose He has for our lives. It's through the struggle that we discover the depths of our own strength, the power of perseverance, and the grace to love others even when they don't deserve it. And while we may not always understand the reason behind the struggle in the moment, we can trust that God is using it to shape us into the people we were meant to become. Every challenge, every moment of pain is part of the greater journey that leads to a life of purpose, resilience, and victory in Him. It's one of the most powerful truths of the Christian faith. We are never truly alone in our battles. When life gets tough, when we feel like we've reached the end of our rope, when we're struggling to understand why things are happening the way they are, we can hold on to one undeniable fact: God is with us. His presence, His strength, His guidance, these are the things that empower us to not just survive, but to succeed. And this is especially true when we find ourselves in challenging situations like dealing with a narcissist. Narcissists are often people who seek to dominate, control, and manipulate others. They thrive on chaos and exert power over others through emotional and psychological tactics. Being in a relationship with a narcissist can be exhausting, leaving you feeling drained, manipulated, and undervalued. It's easy to believe that the narcissist is the one who is winning, that they are in control, and that you are merely surviving by their grace. But the truth is, this perspective is based on a false narrative. You are not a passive participant in the situation. You are not a victim of their actions. You are not simply surviving. You are succeeding. The success you experience, even in the face of narcissism, is not of your own making. It is the result of God's grace, power, and presence in your life. God does not place you in difficult situations without providing the means to succeed. He does not abandon you to fight your battles on your own. Rather, He equips you with everything you need to rise above the challenges and ultimately find victory. Success in the eyes of God is not just about achieving personal goals or accumulating material wealth. Success is about how we respond to the struggles and hardships of life. It's about how we stand firm in our faith, how we remain true to who we are in Christ, and how we allow God to work in and through us to bring about His purposes, even in the most difficult of circumstances. Think about the way Jesus lived. He was constantly surrounded by individuals who misunderstood Him, betrayed Him, and even plotted against Him. Yet He never wavered. He never resorted to manipulation or deceit. He stood firm in His purpose, trusting that God was with Him every step of the way. And He calls us to do the same. We are called to follow His example, to stand firm in the midst of adversity, and to trust that God is at work, even when the situation seems impossible. Just like Jesus, you are not meant to be a passive observer in your own life. You are meant to rise, to succeed, and to overcome through God's strength and power. The first step to understanding how you are succeeding, even in the midst of the narcissist tactics, is to recognize that you are not fighting the battle alone. God is with you. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. The Apostle Paul writes in 2 Corinthians 12:9, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. In other words, it is precisely in our weakest moments, when we feel like we can't go on, when the narcissist behavior has worn us down, that God's power becomes most evident. It is in these moments that God steps in, providing the strength we need to continue. We may not always feel strong, but that's the point. We don't rely on our own strength. We rely on God's strength. This is the foundation of success in any difficult situation, learning to rely on God instead of ourselves. When we feel weak, when we feel like we can't handle the pressure, that is when God is most ready to intervene. His presence and power are always available to us. And when we tap into that strength, we are able to navigate even the most challenging circumstances with grace, dignity, and resilience. This doesn't mean that the situation will magically become easier or that the narcissist will suddenly change. It means that God will equip us with the emotional and spiritual tools to handle whatever comes our way. He will provide us with the wisdom to know when to stand firm, when to speak truth, and when to walk away. Another key aspect of succeeding in the midst of narcissism is recognizing that your worth is not determined by their behavior. Narcissists thrive on making others feel inferior, insignificant, and unworthy. They use tactics like gaslighting, manipulation, and guilt tripping to undermine your sense of self and control the narrative. But God's truth tells us something entirely different. In Psalm 139:14, David declares, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. Your worth is not dependent on the approval of the narcissist, nor is it determined by their actions. You are fearfully and wonderfully made by God. Your worth is intrinsic, not based on what others say or do. When you understand this truth, you begin to see that you are not defined by the narcissist, manipulation, or abuse. You are defined by who God says you are. You are His beloved child, made in His image, and nothing, not even the toxic behavior of a narcissist, can take that away from you. This is one of the most powerful forms of success you can experience. Learning to stand in the truth of who you are, regardless of what others may try to tell you. The narcissist may try to tear you down, but God will build you up. The more you embrace your true identity in Christ, the less power the narcissist has over your emotional and mental state. Success also comes in the form of wisdom. Dealing with a narcissist often forces you to make difficult decisions, to choose your battles wisely, and to establish clear boundaries. Narcissists are skilled at manipulating others, making it hard to discern what's real and what's not. But through this process, you will grow in wisdom. You will learn how to recognize toxic behavior, how to set boundaries that protect your mental health, and how to distance yourself from people who seek to control or undermine you. God gives us wisdom when we ask for it, and in these situations, we can rely on His guidance to help us navigate the complexities of dealing with a narcissist. James 1:05 promises, if any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. God's wisdom will help you make decisions that honor Him, protect your well-being, and allow you to stay grounded in your values even when the narcissist is trying to pull you in a different direction. Finally, success in this situation is about learning to let go of the need for validation from the narcissist. Narcissists feed off attention and admiration. They need to be the center of attention at all costs, and they will go to great lengths to ensure that others worship them and cater to their needs. If you allow yourself to be trapped in this cycle, you'll spend your life trying to earn their approval, only to find that it's an impossible task. The truth is, you are not here to serve their needs. You are here to fulfill God's purpose for your life. You are here to walk in His calling, to live in His truth, and to reflect His love to others. Your validation comes not from the narcissist. When you let go of the need for their approval, you free yourself from their grip. You find peace in knowing that God has already approved you. Success in the eyes of the world may look like fame, fortune, or outward accomplishments, but success in God's eyes is about how we endure, how we trust Him, and how we allow Him to work through us in every situation, no matter how difficult. Your success in dealing with a narcissist is not defined by how they treat you or by how long you stay in the relationship. It is defined by how you stand firm in your faith, how you rely on God for strength, and how you allow His power to work through you to bring about healing and transformation in your life. Through God, you are not merely surviving, you are succeeding, you are thriving, and you are becoming the person God has always meant for you to be.